wanted to make a video today about my opinions on what's going on with the game. And talk about topics in this game that are very taboo. Thank you, bud. And volatile, taboo and volatile in the community of Dead by Daylight, such as how broken and unbalanced Swift is. I kind of want to know, I want to ask Dead by Daylight and Behavior, I should say, why the hell have they been allowing Survive with Friends to use third-party software such as VoiceCom, TeamSpeak, Discord, even PlayStation and Xbox Party Chat are all third-party software, when they clearly have a rule against using third-party software to gain an advantage to the detriment of the game. That's the thing. Nobody thinks that it's that big of an advantage. Well, they at least don't want to admit it openly. But a four-man Swift without comms versus a four-man Swift with comms is a huge difference. That information, just having the communication, is a huge advantage. And it's to the detriment of the game for the killer. Because the killer can't counter that. There's no counter in that information. Not only that, you got all those informational perks that survivors have to know where the killer is at all times now. You also got the guy across the map doing a gen saying, oh, he's over by Killer Shack, coming your way. They all scatter before they even hear his heartbeat. That's huge. Versus a killer that has no idea where anybody is because they're hiding constantly for that reason. But yeah, putting all that aside, Behavior is allowing Survivor Friends to blatantly break rules. And a lot of people want to say that it's for profit. It might be. And the fact is that it's for profit is what makes Behavior afraid of their community. I feel that Behavior is afraid of the community, the survivor player base in the community, because there's so many. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because they are so reliant, dependable, and addicted to the money they're making off of the majority player base, which is survivors. Majority player base. Let's bring that up too. So we got Behavior pretty much allowing Survivor Friends to break rules, their own no third-party software rule. And I Google searched a while back Dead by Daylight's registered users. How many people are registered on Dead by Daylight? 15 million. 10 million of them which are PlayStation Network accounts. So they're afraid of the community, the survivor player base in the community, because they don't want to upset them, because if they do, they lose a lot of money. But yet, they don't care about giving that same community members, the survivors, of their biggest registered user platform, a PTB, to test the game out. Literally 10 million registered users on PlayStation Network compared to every other platform, and we're the only ones that don't have access to PTB. And the reason I say we're the only ones is because Xbox can play on PC, and whatever changes happen through the PTB on PC are good for Xbox because they're on the same operating system. So we literally have no access, no say in anything. Xbox and PC does. Because Xbox can play the PTB on PC. And whatever input they put in on that PTB will also be valid for their platform. But we don't have that. How fucking fair is that, right? And I think there's some kind of legal gray area in all of that, by the way, where every other platform has access to the PTB but one. We have to deal with our game being broken from live release until at least mid-chapter before they even acknowledge it. And by the time the next chapter comes out is when we finally get fixes on PlayStation. So we are literally playing crossplay with two platforms with a broken game, whether it be in our favor or their favor, for nearly a whole chapter before anything's done. How is that fucking okay? It shouldn't be. And the reason they give is because PlayStation takes too long for the patches to go through. And we have a strict schedule. Then fix your fucking schedule, because I think it's illegal for you to not give us that same opportunity as everybody else has to you know, give input on how the game is working. So with PTB, talking about PTB, the current testing that they've done for things and the changes that have happened in the game. This whole base kit fucking thing they're doing is kind of getting ridiculous. It's not just what they're giving them, it's what they're not giving us, or they're giving us just to shut us up. So, base kit borrowed time for survivors came with Shattered Hope for killers. Yay, we get to break totems, but we can't do it globally like they have been for years when we can, where they can break our hexes and dull totems without a perk. We have to have a perk. And in order to even play devil's advocate for this, the only thing I can think of why is they put it in as a perk is because they didn't feel as guilty, or it's more forgiving for them to give us a perk that gives aura reading after breaking a totem, or a boon totem. But I would rather have no aura and be able to do that base kit without having to waste a perk slot. There's no way that they can think giving us a perk that's not going to be used, because now our gen regression is gutted and we have to have builds like this. There's no room for that perk. So we're not using it anyway. And we still have the problem with boons not getting broken. But yet they can still cleanse our hexes and bless our hexes. So I feel that this perk they gave us, Shattered Hope, was nothing more than just a slap in the face telling us shut the fuck up and deal with it. And then, I know that we're not going to be seeing Unbreakable base kit for a while, if we see it at all. But how the fuck does the devs think, given Survivor's Unbreakable base kit, even an endgame Mori for killers is anywhere even remotely close to a fair trade-off? Having an endgame Mori does nothing for us during the game, but having Unbreakable base kit, just the perk alone when you can only use it once. One person having that perk alone is a fucking game changer. Can completely change the momentum of the game in the favor of the survivors. Just with the perk alone when it can only be used once. This can be used multiple times by everybody throughout the trial. And they think giving us a fucking endgame Mori comes close to being viable as a viable trade-off for us to be happy with? Fuck no. What happened to us getting our fucking our Corrupt Intervention base kit? What happened to us not what happened, but they could even take the shitty ass ruin that we have now and make that base kit and have the ruin shut off whenever we use a perk like, let's say, eruption or pain res. Whenever that triggers and regresses, ruin stops and it takes on the perk regression. The only time that ruin pops up globally is when you're chasing somebody off of a generator, and until they're downed and your perks kick in, and then it stops. Kind of like when fuming mixtape for Legion. Generators everywhere are regressing while you're in frenzy. Well, as long as there's no like jolt or oppression or pain res or eruption or anything like that is affecting the generator, ruin shuts off. But it's only when they freshly working on the generator and you push them off of it, it starts working. I'd be cool with something like that, or base kit freaking corrupt intervention, like we were told about 2 years ago when about a year ago actually, a little over a year, that we were gonna get that. How can they think that giving us a perk is equivalent to them having every hook, every unhook being affected with borrowed time base kit, and then the additional bullshit of the new rework of the actual perk to increase. I didn't even know there was a fucking. I honestly, I didn't even know that there was an actual a speed increase after being unhooked. Was I the only one that wasn't aware of that? But until I read the new borrowed time is when a 10-second increase in movement speed bonus, like, yeah. And then I could only imagine. I didn't play PTV and I didn't pay attention to what they did with the unbreakable base kit testing. I don't even want to know if it's comparatively to what the borrowed time perk became now. I can't imagine what bullshit they're gonna give fucking unbreakable perk if they put that in base kit. Not only that, killers, specifically the twins, are gonna have to be completely reworked. Because if you're chasing somebody with Victor and you end up way on the other side of a map, like let's say fucking Mother's Dwelling, one of the biggest maps, right? You're gonna take forever to get over there. Not only that, if you're chasing around more than one survivor with Victor, because you know they're gonna pick them up, you already have to deal with potentially losing a down because you have to go across the map with slow ass Charlotte to go and get them. But with the ability to pick up themselves, the twins are gonna need a complete fucking power rework. Um, Speaking of like global reworks and base kit shit, Soldier's Putty. You got what? Eight? What is this? Start with 2 extra hatchets, so 7. 7 hatchets, right? Or if you use this, that could be up to 8 hatchets. And let's say the hatchets are like 5 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds. So that's like 25 to 40 pounds of weight, technically and realistically. And when you're empty on hatchets, that you're lost. So you should automatically be moving faster. Soldier's Putty should be base kit for Huntress. It just makes sense. When you lose 40 pounds off of you, you're going to be moving a little quicker. No, I just don't understand how nobody wants to talk about this. Everybody wants balance in the game, but nobody's willing to talk about it because the cancel culture will try to fucking shut you up and shut you down if they don't agree with you. And it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. One of my biggest problems is two of my biggest problems in this whole thing is the lack of being able to have a PTB to let the devs know if something works with us or not. Oh, and by the way, I will be calling out for a rework or a revert on Oni. That whole movement, that turn radius nerf they did a couple years back is horrible for controller. Um, that's why I don't play Oni anymore. When he first came out, I was fucking all about being an Oni main, and nope, he's not worth playing anymore with the frustration of not being able to turn with Oni on controller. Um, I'll be making a highlight of this beginning of this part of the stream today, and putting it up on YouTube. This will be basically a call out. We need to hold behavior accountable for their actions. They are literally allowing survivor friends to abuse a rule and get away with breaking a rule with third party software communications when they have a clear rule stating you are not to be using third party software to gain an advantage to the detriment of the game. And that's exactly what third party comms for Swift is. And that sucks that I have to bring this up because I do play with friends sometimes. But they never intended comms. Because if they did, they would have put it in the main game instead of only in Kill Your Friends. They either one had seen how toxic it could get if you have random people on mic together that may not get along in the game, or if they were planning maybe proxy chat, how toxic that could get by watching their direct competitor back in the day when this game was released Friday the 13th, the game. And yes, that got some pretty fucking toxic shit going on in that game. There were some games I had to shut down my stream because I couldn't even record what was being said in that game, and actually stream it without risk of getting freaking canceled myself. So either that they realize how toxic communication could become, or they knew how much of an advantage it would give the survivors against the killer to be able to communicate like that. That's why they have the pointing, the waving to come over and everything, the emotes that you can do. That's why they have it. Comms was not meant to be a part of this game, but now they are literally allowing survivors and survivor friends to blatantly break a rule. Second biggest thing is we need a PTB for PlayStation because technically Xbox players can play it on PC and have the same exact input and feedback go into their game and come back out as an update for both PC and Xbox because they're on the same software. We are literally at a disadvantage because we sometimes have to play with a broken game for sometimes a whole chapter before anything gets done. They need to really, really put together a fucking a PlayStation console team because they already have a team that caters to PC, to the game's initial player base and platform, and that and inadvertently that works for Xbox too. So we literally are left in the dark playing against two platforms that crossplay that have everything they want and as feedback in for the game against a platform that doesn't even have the access to the PTB. And they want to sit there and complain about the amount of time it takes for PlayStation to go through updates. Well, you know what? Fucking fix your schedule. Stop the bullshit. There's got to be some legality issues there of allowing access to all but one platform, especially when they play against each other in the same game. There's got to be some legality issues with that. So, yeah, that and the devs need to stop with this fucking. Oh, we gave you a perk, but they have a global fucking um, base kit change that affects from the second you hook somebody to the end of the game, every hook that you fucking do, or now with Unbreakable, every down that you get, they can pick themselves up. And guess what? You can sit there and attempt to try to mori them, time it right so you can get this last survivor standing bullshit going, so you can mori somebody. while they can pick themselves up throughout the whole game. That's so, that's so equally awesome for you to have that Mori when it literally does nothing utility wise for us during the game. It's end game. We don't want to wait till end game. We don't want end game to happen. It's the whole point of the killer is not to let end game happen. What you do is you want to work on the Moris, take away the Ebony. I believe that Ebony is just fucking overkill. Cypress, you can keep that because it's basically the end game Mori. You can only Mori the last person alive. But the Ivory Mori, that's all that's needed. Because if you can tunnel, well, not really tunnel, but if you can Mori somebody out of the game early, you got good pressure. But you don't need to do it. Honestly, as a killer main, I feel that Ebony Moris were only good for back when everybody was D-pipping as killer. That was the legitimate way to D-rank as killer back before MMR. And that was the only purpose for it, really. Yeah, you got the Mori 4 people. Ooh, yay. But the thing is the endgame Mori doesn't help killers. The majority of these killers, their Moris are way too long and it's a waste of time. So why would we want that as a compromise and a fair, I think that would be a fair trade-off for having unbreakable base kit. It's not. They're not giving us the same quality of change as what they're giving the survivors. So behavior needs to really think twice about trying to fucking shove that down our throats and tell us they deal with it or get nothing. Is basically what they're telling us. Just like with the perk Shattered Hope. Yeah, great. We have to have a perk slot for something they've been able to do for years base kit. That's bullshit. That's not an equal trade-off. That is not a balanced trade-off for us. They get something that affects the whole trial of every trial they play. And we get a perk that we might use, but because they gutted our regression, we have to have builds with perks like this. We're never going to have a fucking spot for Shattered Hope because of the way the gens are, and they're increasingly giving all kinds of fucking gen progression, gen rushing perks. Like they got a new one. It's basically Leader 2.0, specifically for gen speeds. It's 8% when you're within a certain radius of somebody working on a fucking gen. It's literally a Leader 2.0. They now have 2 perks that pretty much they took away Leader when they buffed Prove Thyself just to come back a year later to fucking give us a better Leader. That's bullshit. This is the kind of games that the behavior plays with their community. And this is why the community is so divided. And, it's stupid that we seem to just turn a blind eye to it. And, we all want everybody to... We all want the same thing. Is this game to live long enough to be able to enjoy and play it, because we all love the game. Some people love it for the wrong reasons because of the fact that it's so one-sided. And if that were to change, I was told in True Talent's chat today, I had a conversation with somebody, that like if it wasn't for Swift, I would uninstall the game. Then fucking uninstall it, because if you don't get your heads out of your ass and see past your entitlement, you're going to have no killers to play against, and you're going to be stuck playing with freaking AI bots that ain't going to be fun anymore. And maybe that's what behavior wants. Maybe they're trying to push the killer player base out so they can make it a 4v1 party game against an AI bot that's stupid. Because the survivors will pay for shit as long as they can play the way they want and abuse it. It's like, maybe that's what they're trying for. But, yeah, it's ridiculous. Somebody needs to fucking bring this up. And I don't have enough pull in the community or even, numbers on Twitch and fucking YouTube to matter. I'm not going to be a big enough influence on anything to get this out there, except for just hope to post it on fucking YouTube and reach somebody. I'm going to post it on Twitter and tag behavior, because this is really a call out for them. I want to know, why is it that you're allowing survivors to blatantly break rules? They're using third-party software. Is it for profit? And if it is because of profit, it's mainly because you are afraid of your survivor community. You are afraid of what they can take away from you if they're not happy, and that's your money. And that's a bullshit way to run a game. You might as well sign up with EA and Ubisoft, which supposedly there's a rumor that Ubisoft is buying out behavior. And if that's the case, ooh, we're in trouble.